everyone, welcome to Embody Nourish. My name is Karen and I'm so glad that you're here. Thank you for stopping by. So today I'll be making these beautiful, aesthetic, good looking desserts that are actually really easy to make. They're all vegan and there'll be 4 recipes that I'll be showing you so you can impress your friends and family at home. But before we get started, don't forget to comment, like and subscribe to my channel. I'd really appreciate it. And with that, let's get started. To start, we have this luscious and silky smooth panna cotta that is completely vegan. The richness of the coconut panna cotta is complemented with the beautiful flavours of golden kiwi fruit. If golden kiwi fruit isn't in season where you live, you can use berries or mangoes as an alternative. It will still come out delicious. Let's make the vegan panna cotta first so it can set in the fridge while we finish the recipe. Heat 800 milliliters of coconut milk, which is around 2 cans, over medium-high heat, and add in 2 to 3 tablespoons of coconut sugar. Whisk the coconut milk and the sugar together so it doesn't clump up. So instead of gelatin, we'll be using agar-agar powder instead. You can easily find this at Asian grocery stores. And just be careful, agar-agar powder, which I'm using, is different to agar flakes. I'm using half a teaspoon or even a quarter of a teaspoon of powder, which gave it a beautiful, soft, wobbly texture. But if you like a firmer consistency, feel free to add in more. Whisk the agar in and let the mixture boil for 2 to 3 minutes, turning the heat down if it spills. Add in 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract and whisk it in again. If you're planning to invert the panna cotta, grease the ramekins with some oil beforehand. Gently scoop and pour in the mixture into the ramekins and set it in the fridge for about an hour. If you want to finer and smoother panna cotta, you can run the mixture through a sieve to remove any undissolved agar powder. The panna cotta is also served with a delicious macadamia crumble that I've literally been using in everything. You'll need a medium mixing bowl. Add in 1 cup of rolled oats, a quarter cup of macadamia nuts, 2 teaspoons of melted vegan butter, and 1 to 2 tablespoons of maple syrup. You can omit the maple syrup if you're going whole foods or try to source date syrup, which I've found to be a healthier sweetener. Stir to combine everything together and transfer the mixture into a food processor or blender. Pulse until it's crumbly and the macadamias have broken up. Transfer the crumble into a small baking tray, spreading it out evenly with a spoon. Bake it in a preheated oven at 160 degrees Celsius for around 20 to 25 minutes or until it's golden brown. It smells absolutely delicious. Now moving to the golden kiwi fruit syrup. Cut up a piece of ginger into 4 parts. Roughly chop up the golden kiwi fruit and transfer it and the ginger into a saucepan over medium heat. Cook for several minutes until the kiwi is tender and use a wooden spoon or potato masher to mush it up. A beautiful golden liquid should start to form from the juices. You can add in maple syrup to increase the sweetness, but sometimes I find that the tardiness and the sweetness of the golden kiwi fruit makes the dish more enticing. When it's done, scoop out the ginger pieces and remove the syrup from heat. You can transfer it into another bowl and set it aside to cool. You should be able to smell when the macadamia crumble is just about done. If you're keen on serving it fresh from the oven, you can make the crumble just as the panna cotta is about to set. It should be a beautiful brown and golden. If you're looking to make it more whole foods, you can omit the vegan butter, maple syrup and add in more ingredients such as flax seeds and shredded coconut. When the panna cotta has set, gently invert it. I like to soak the ramekins in warm water just before I do it. I found doing this helps it to invert really well and does the trick every time. Just make sure you don't get any water inside the ramekins though. Scoop some of that delicious kiwi fruit syrup over the top, and because we're going with a yellow theme today, I decided to add in some passion fruit too, which complements the flavours really well. Sprinkle over a generous serving of macadamia crumble and you can garnish with extra kiwi slices and mint leaves. The mint green just looks so aesthetic on top of the white and the golden yellow. If you just want a quick and easy snack, you can definitely serve the panna cotta in the ramekins as well. Pour over the golden kiwi fruit syrup and serve the crumble on the side. The result is a gorgeous looking dessert that tastes even better. It's simple to make and you could even whip it out with fruits you have at home. I just love golden kiwi fruit because it's sweet, unlike its green counterpart, and it has tropical notes of mango and pineapple. And with the base of the panna cotta being coconut, the flavours go really well together. It's also a relatively healthy dessert and even healthier if you make it whole foods. Up next, we have this beautiful vegan orange upside down cake, and it's guaranteed to brighten up a gloomy winter's day. To get that gorgeous colour and pattern, you'll need 1 blood orange and 1 navel orange. Cut the oranges as thinly as you can. You can use a mandolin, I didn't have one, so it was a bit of a struggle, but we got there in the end. We'll also be using a springform cake pan just to make it easier to pop it out, so grease it and then you can assemble the orange slices. Definitely channel your inner artistic skills here and arrange it however you like. Just remember whatever is facing you right now will be facing the cake. Moving on to the cake batter, measure out 300 grams of all-purpose flour. Sift it into a large mixing bowl to remove any large clumps. Add in 2 teaspoons of baking powder and also 200 grams of caster sugar. The cake is on the sweeter side, but because we're leaving the peels of the oranges on, it will balance it out perfectly. In another bowl, pour in 200 milliliters of soy milk, 130 milliliters of extra virgin olive oil, and 150 milliliters of orange juice. I freshly squeezed it from the oranges that we used. And don't forget the 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. Give it a swirl with a spatula and pour the wet ingredients into the dry. Mix together to combine everything together. And whoops, I nearly forgot to add in the 1 tablespoon of orange zest. When it's all combined, transfer the cake batter onto the cake tin on top of the orange slices. Bake the cake in a preheated oven at 180 degrees Celsius for around 45 minutes or until a clean toothpick comes out in the middle. And now the waiting game begins. We're nearly done, guys. When the cake is done, remove it from the oven and let it cool. Carefully open up the spring and invert the cake. This cake is delicious and it's also so aesthetically pleasing. It reminds us of a sunset actually. There is always time for a delicious strawberry puff pastry tart that gives our belly and heart a warm and fuzzy feeling all over. Luckily, we don't need much time to make this recipe because it's so easy. The first thing to do is soak 1 cup of pistachio nuts in water so it softens while we make our tarts. Cut 2 cups of strawberries in half as well. Grab 2 sheets of vegan puff pastry that's been thawed and place them on a baking tray lined with baking paper. Roll in the edges of the pastry sheet, tucking in the corners. Press a fork down onto the rolled edges to create markings and to press them down so they don't unfold. Poke holes in the square inside so the pastry doesn't puff up in there when it's baking. Using a pastry brush, brush some plant-based milk all over the pastry. My favourite milk to use is soy because it's very creamy. Sprinkle over some coconut sugar, cinnamon, and a pinch of nutmeg. Adjust it to how sweet and flavourful you want it to be. This next step is optional. Spread some vegan butter around the edges of the pastry to ensure that it will crispen up nicely with a gorgeous golden brown colour. I'm going to show you 2 ways to make this strawberry tart, one with baked strawberries and the other one with fresh. Assemble the strawberries on the pastry sheet, alternating the position to give it a natural look. Bake the pastry for 30 minutes at 200 degrees Celsius or until the tart is golden brown and puffy. While it's already amazing on its own, the puff pastry tart is brought to life with a rich whipped pistachio cream. Drain the water from the pistachios and place them into a food processor or blender. Blend until it's completely pulverized and smooth. You might need to add in some water to help it get to a creamy texture. Transfer the blended pistachios into a large mixing bowl that's been chilled. Add in half a cup of coconut cream. You can also use coconut milk that's been in the fridge overnight, a 1/4 teaspoon of vanilla extract, and adjust to taste with sugar or maple syrup. Use a hand mixer to whip the pistachio cream. Chill it in the fridge while you wait for the tarts to bake. When the tarts are done, they're going to be a beautiful golden buttery brown with a perfect crispiness. They still might look a bit puffy from the heat, but it should deflate once you take them out from the oven. Place them on a cooling rack and let them cool. The tart with the baked strawberries will be ready to eat. For the other tart, take out the pistachio cream from the fridge and spread it generously all over it. Top it with some fresh strawberries, alternating the position again to give it that really natural look. Sprinkle over some icing sugar over the top for some extra sweetness, and the white goes beautifully against the red and gold. I made it a little bit more prettier by adding some edible flowers over the top. And there you go, guys. How easy were these vegan strawberry puff pastry tarts, and sometimes the simplest things are honestly the best. Let these raspberry and rhubarb crumble bars make your day. I actually love eating these with a cup of coffee in the late morning when I'm feeling a bit snackish. We're going to make the delicious base first, so you'll need 1 cup of pecans, 1 cup of rolled oats, a 1/4 cup of ground flaxseed, 2 to 3 tablespoons of coconut sugar, and 3 tablespoons of melted vegan butter. Blend them together in a food processor until they're crumbly but sticks together when you press it with your fingers, kind of like a cheesecake base. If you're going whole foods, I do recommend using date syrup to substitute for the coconut sugar and the vegan butter. We're going to pre-bake this first, so pour the base into a baking tray and spread it out evenly, pressing it down into the tray with your fingers. Bake at 180 degrees Celsius for 15 to 20 minutes or until it's slightly golden brown. Moving on to the delicious raspberry and rhubarb filling, chop up 2 cups of rhubarb into 2 to 3 centimeter pieces. Transfer them into a saucepan along with 1 cup of raspberries. You can definitely substitute in other types of berries for this recipe. Blueberries would be amazing. Over medium heat, add in a 1/4 teaspoon of vanilla extract, 1 tablespoon of coconut sugar, and half a teaspoon of lemon juice. As it heats up, the rhubarb and the raspberries should become tender. Mash them up to release all of the juices. When it starts to bubble, turn down the heat to medium-low. Stir frequently to prevent it from sticking to the bottom of the pot. When it's all turned into a liquid, add in 1 tablespoon of tapioca starch or arrowroot powder so it has a stickier consistency. Adjust the sweetness to your liking and set it aside to cool. And now we have the crumble topping, which is the third and last layer. In a food processor, add in some oats, almond flour, melted vegan butter, and shredded coconut. You can add in some coconut sugar if you want some more sweetness, and omit the vegan butter if you're going whole foods. It will still bake quite nicely. Pulse until a crumbly texture forms and be careful to not overdo it. Set it aside and take out the crust from the oven when it's done. Pour the cooled rhubarb and raspberry syrup all over. Spread it out evenly and add the crumble topping on top. Bake for 20 minutes at 180 degrees or until the crumble is golden brown. It should smell amazing. And when it's done, place it on a cooling rack. And when it's cooled down, slice into even squares. I love having this with vegan vanilla ice cream, or if I'm feeling a bit more healthy, I love having this with coconut yogurt. These vegan raspberry and rhubarb crumble bars are delicious as a snack, and be careful, it's so crumbly. Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching this video. Your support means the world to me. If you haven't already and if you'd like to, then don't forget to comment, like and subscribe to my channel. It will really help the community grow. If you would like the full recipes, they're available on my blog at embodynourish.com. And with that, I'll see you next time.